Good afternoon, everyone. Today, the topic I'm going to discussion is this Pisa Cathedral complex. And when you think of Pisa, the first image that probably comes to mind is the famous Leaning Tower. But what if I told you that the tower is just one part of the magnificent cathedral complex? Today, we'll explore Pisa Cathedral Complex, a stunning example of Romanesque architecture. The Pisa Cathedral complex include Pisa Cathedral, the main one in the middle, and the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and the Baptistery, and the Monumental Centenary, which in the behind. Together, these structures form the core part of the Square of Miracles, which is very well known. The site is a rare example where all three key structures of Italian cathedral complex, the cathedral, the baptistry, and the bell tower, were built at a similar time and therefore share a coherent architecture style. Unlike in Northern Europe, where the bell towers are often integrated into the west facade of churches, the Italian tradition is to separate these structures. The baptistry stands apart because in medieval times, one hand had to be baptized before entering the church. The bell tower, famously known as the Leaning Tower of Pisa, also stands separately. And to give you an idea of Romanesque architecture in Italy, let's take a look at a little piece of Pisa. Almost a slice of what might be Romanesque. Yes, I'm making puns, and I'll stop at some point. The term Romanesque literally means in the style of Romance, because these buildings revived their use of round arches, as you can see, round arches, and vaulting and massive stone structures, reminiscent of ancient Roman engineering. We can see this reflect in the church's layout, which follows a Latin cross plan, a design that not only provides structural stability but also reinforces the religious significance of the space. This style dominated from 10th to the 12th century, bridging the gap between early medieval construction and the rise of Gothic cathedrals. And I'll introduce the term Romanesque further through this presentation. Now let's step back in time. Around the year 1000 AD, Europe was experiencing what we call the minimal fear. People believed the world might end. When it didn't, society saw a new era of stability, expansion, and most importantly, church building projects. Pisa itself was a prosperous maritime city, thriving through the trade and conquest. The spoils of naval victory over Muslims provide funds that we funneled into this cathedral complex. And now, stepping into this wonderful piece of Pisa, yep, we have the cathedral itself, which is massive for its time. You can get a sense of its scale by looking at the tourists walking around and exterior features and elliptical dome and a striped marble facade and intricate bronze doors. Arcades and engaged columns create sense of lightness, echoing ancient Roman covered walkways. So it's Romanesque architecture, very obviously. And inside, the cathedral boasts a timber roof and a golden wooden ceiling. We also find Corinthian columns and the famous Pizzano pulpit, an early masterpiece of Renaissance sculpture. The interior reflects culture influence from Byzantine mosaics, Islam decorative motifs, and classical Roman engineering. And here is the Bell Tower, or the famous Leaning Tower of Pisa, which is one of the most recognized structure in the world. Follows the Romanesque tradition with rounded arches, but also incorporates Gothic elements in the upper levels. During construction, it begins to lean because it was built on the ancient bank of the Arno River. Half of its foundation rests on soft silt, while the other half is on firmer clay. This imbalance caused the lean to worsen over time. By the late 1990s, the lean has become quite severe, raising fears of collapse. In 1999, engineers began carefully removing the soil from the north side to stabilize it, successfully reducing the tilt by about an inch. This effort has ensured stability for at least another 300 years, allowing tourists once again to climb the tower. The tower is also famous for Galileo's legendary experiments on gravity, where he is said to have dropped objects from this height to test his theories. And then comes the baptistry. The baptistry mirrors the Romanesque style of the cathedral, with arcades and decorative columns. Like the tower, it also leans slightly due to the unstable ground, but not very significantly, but kind of. And inside, its domed roof creates remarkable acoustics, amplifying sound in a unique way. This fusion of Romanesque structure with Gothic decoration makes an important transitional building. The famous pulpit was sculpted between 1255 and 1260 by Nicola Pisano, the father of Giovanni Pisano, the artist who produced the pulpit in the Pisa Cathedral main building. And here is finally the Camposanto Monumental, Pisa's monumental sentiment, cemetery, completes this sacred space, built with marble and featuring a large central courtyard. It houses some of the most significant frescoes of the medieval period, include the Triumph of Death. The Camposanto fresco displays a powerful meditation on morality, portraying the unavoidable nature of death and the fleeting nature of earthly pleasures. The cemetery itself was said to have been built on sacred soil from Jerusalem, further emphasizing its spiritual significance. And before we conclude, it's important to recognize how the Pisa Cathedral complex represents more than just Romanesque architecture. It also signals key transitions in art history. As one of the best examples of Romanesque architecture, it embodies the style that defined Western Europe from 1000 to 1150. Some might compare it to late Gothic cathedrals and see Romanesque structures as heavy or unimpressive. But we have to remember that in the 11th century, builders have few models to follow, and the innovation of Gothic architecture were only possible because of 150 years of Romanesque engineering experience. What makes the Pisa Cathedral complex particularly significant is how it anticipates their late, later developments. It blends artistic influence from Byzantine mosaics, Islamic patterns, and classical Roman techniques, reflecting a border culture exchange. At the same time, it represents a shift in how architects were viewed, moving from anonymous builders to recognized art, artists. This transition laid the foundation for how architecture would evolve in the medieval and Renaissance periods. And in conclusion, the Pisa Cathedral complex is more than just a collection of buildings. It's a testament to the power of architecture to reflect history, culture, and faith. It embodies the ideals of Romanesque architecture while also paving the way for future innovations in art and engineering. So, the next time you see the Leaning Tower of Pisa, remember, it's not just a quirky accident. It's part of one of the greatest architecture achievements of the medieval world. And hopefully, this little slice of pizza has given you a taste of just how fascinating Romanesque architecture can be. Okay, I'll stop the pounds now, and this is my bibliography. Thank you very much.